This is Ryan from blazingwonders.com, and I am almost at the end of what has been about a 5 or 6 hour journey to get these FlareSpace trim rings to fit correctly. The issue is they're too long, and maybe they do that intentionally, but it wasn't really clear. If you want your wall to sit flush with the van, basically here, and not have a gap, and the reason why you want it to sit here is if not, all that pressure is being applied to your flare. You push it on this, which is then pushing on that, which is probably not very good for the long-term weather seal, since the flares are just glued on the van and they're fiberglass. So what I've been doing is just measuring and remeasuring and remeasuring. You can see some of my measurements here to be able to trim and get the right dimensions for this trim ring so that this wall will be able to sit flush. I'm pretty much done with the other side. And if you look, because of the geometry of the van, it starts skinny here toward the front, and then it gets wider as you go backwards. And the top and the bottom are not the same. So I have lots of measurements that I've taken here, and I've been in and out of this van probably 50 times with measuring, fitting, cutting, grinding. I'm using a Dremel for the grinder and a jigsaw for the cutting. And just taking off a little bit of the time just to make sure that I don't go too far. I do have some experience with working with fiberglass, and I can build that back up, but it's a bit of a pain. So I'm trying to take it slow, make sure I get roughly the right gaps, and don't take too much off while alleviating any sort of pressure on this trim ring, or excuse me, on the flare. We are doing our FlareSpace trim ring. We're using some 3M90, and we're going section by section. You can see we're just doing the front face plane to start with. And we're going to go back and then make these types of finger cuts, especially in the corners and adhere the front. This front face will be behind the wallboard and will not be exposed. So the only thing you'll see is the inside portion of the trim ring. And we are about ready to attach our trim ring to our wall panel. This has been quite the journey, hasn't it, Jen? All right, so Jen's wrapped the fabric here on the flare. We have holes that we have precision drilled to match up with these hidden T-nut fasteners that are on the other side but are not visible because they're buried into the panel. And then if everything goes well, we'll be able to attach here, and we'll be ready to mount this onto the wall. You'll also see, and this is something that's taken quite a bit of time to figure out, I've got holes drilled for the bed system, and then holes drilled for the utility cabinet, the electric cabinet will be going underneath. But I wanted to have these pre-drilled so that I could put plus nuts behind these, and making sure that all the dimensions were right in the electrical cabinet as well as the bed. That does take quite a bit of thought. Before you go slap your walls up, it's worthwhile figuring out where you're going to put all your fasteners at. And then up here we've got these are a hole on each side. We're going to be putting touch lamps for reading above the bed. All right, so we have the flare ring now attached to the board. You can see the screw we're using with a lock washer and then a washer. Really pulls this thing together really nicely. onto the wall panel. It's not going to separate. And then let's just pull this up. And if everything went according to plan, ta-da! You don't see any screw penetrations.
Nope.
All right, we're ready to mount the panel.